And I promised my boss at Utrecht University to tell you that I'm also employed at Utrecht University as a professor of sustainable innovation. But very happy to talk to you about circular economy. I think the Alliance has done a great job in highlighting two of those major challenges where science is really needed. If you think that we need to spend 25 to 30% of our national income to health-related issues, I mean, that's at least a huge economic problem. I will try to convince you that the way we use materials in a very linear way and not a circular way is maybe as large a problem as we just discussed. So, like you said, in the Netherlands we have the ambition to become fully circular in 2050, and we at PBL, we basically hold the thermometer. We do a biannual evaluation of the progress, and then we basically tell politics and the civil servants how to get there and what to do better. But let's start with the problem. And the problem is basically the chairs that you're sitting on, the building that we are using, the cars that we drive. All this stuff that we use today just requires a lot of material. And it's so evident that we all use materials, we're so used to it, but actually it is doing a lot of harm. So for me it was really an eye-opener that when in our latest report we wrote that about 80% of biodiversity loss is related to the materials that we use. And it's due to the fact that we extract a lot of resources from ecosystems and we basically destroy those ecosystems, be it biomass or more mineral sources, has a massive effect on local ecosystems. But then when you have extracted those materials, you need to process them into stuff that we can actually use. We need to make a chair out of it, or we need to make nice plastics, or we need all kind of processing. And this is basically done by industry. So all the emissions by industry to air, to water, to soil, is all related to our material use. And if we talk about climate change that we're all very aware of, 40% of climate change is related to material extraction and processing. So if we use materials much more efficiently, we not only solve the biodiversity problem, but we also contribute to mitigating the climate change problem. And then we have all the emissions to air, but also water and soil. So, and then we talk about waste, because when we have used all the materials, most people just throw it away. In the Netherlands, we have quite a well-organized waste management system, but in many parts of the world, the river and the ocean is basically your garbage can. And therefore, you know the plastic ocean problem is all related to our material consumption and way we handle materials. Poor lady, if this is your surf ground. So, a question to you. How many kilograms of materials do you think that we as Europeans use each year? Give me a number. You can shout it out loud. How much? 2,000? 200. Okay, 200 kilograms. Good, that's a good start. 200 kilograms. Who gives me more? 5,000, 10,000, 8,000, 14,000 kilograms. And this is not just the stuff that you buy, because that's much less. It's also the stuff that we need to create this type of buildings, to create highways. So also all the construction materials are part of this number. But you can imagine, if the whole world is going to live as we as Europeans, the total consumption, the total material consumption in the world is going to explode, unless we are going to behave in a very different way. So this is where the circular economy comes in. At the bottom of this scheme is the linear economy. This is we extract resources, we use the resources, and we dispose the resources in a very linear fashion. The circular way is different. And let's start at the top. It's kind of a hierarchy of options that we need to be aware of. So the first idea is we don't need all the products. We need the surface of products. And if you can share a product and have the same service, that's much more material efficient than if everyone buys a product. So the first category is really rethinking what we actually want, what we need, and what type of service provision is the best thing. The second block, that's the large blue square, is about extending the lifetime of products. So not using it quickly and then discarding it, but you can repair it, use it longer, you can reuse a product, you can give it to other people. So all those type of options are also part of the circular economy. And then finally, in the end, when we have used all these type of options, it's about recycling, so reusing the materials. And when we have done that, there is still always some leftovers that we need to manage as well as possible. And then the option is to incinerate it with energy recovery. So that's really at the lowest hierarchy in a circular economy strategy. And when I say in the Netherlands we're doing quite well, it means that we are very good at the bottom part. That's what we do well. The top, we hardly do it. And that's, I think, one of the major issues, that we still use those thousands of kilograms of products each year. So this is the promise of a circular economy. So the circular economy is using all those strategies and basically use a factor 10 materials more efficiently. So with 10% of the material requirement have the same quality of life. So it means a radical reduction in primary material use, massive improvements as a result in biodiversity, climate change and pollution. But also we are much less dependent on countries that provide us those materials. And those countries at the moment are very strategic. They use strategic mining, strategic positioning of their possession of all these materials. And China is now one of the countries that we are very dependent upon. So we were very dependent on the OPEC countries for oil, and in the future we will be very dependent on China for all our materials. The good thing is, if you manage this process much better, it's also a very cost-effective process, because if you need to buy materials, it costs a lot of money. So if you use them much more efficiently, very often it's a very cost-effective process. And then you can read all kind of consultants reports, and they promise us it's a multi-billion-dollar new industry. So the bottom word is no-brainer, right? It's a no-brainer. Of course we should do this. It has all those positive effects. And yet, it's not happening. So there are reports out, it's called the global circularity gap. It's the gap between the linear consumption of materials and the circular one, and this gap is only increasing. So in 2018, 9.1% of our materials was used already in a kind of circular way, mostly recycling at a lower level, but now it's only 7.2%. So the world is moving the other way. And also in the Netherlands, it's not going very well. So we see, so this follows from the PBL study, it's called the Integrated Circular Economy Report. And earlier this year, we handed over the report to the Secretary of State, Viviane Heijnen, and our conclusion was we do not see a structural reduction in material use. We saw a slight dip, it was due to COVID, and now it's increasing again. The government has the ambition to reduce materials by 50%, let's say in 7 years from now. It's impossible. It's just not going to happen. And the dependency on other countries only has increased. So how come? So it's a no-brainer, and yet it's not happening. And it was also, I think, your final slide that has a lot to do with it. So first of all, the economy is still growing. And when you're growing, you build new infrastructures, you build more houses. It all consumes materials. So it's very hard to do this with using less materials. But there's also a attention deficit. The whole topic of circular economy is 20 years behind global warming. We all understand global warming is a problem. We do not all understand that material consumption and resource extraction is a problem of the same kind. So it's very good that this alliance is putting attention to this problem. And globally, recycling is not even in place, let alone hire our strategies. The other issue, it affects all economic activities. So the energy transition is difficult, but it's a single sector. The health transition is difficult, but there still you can talk about all the agencies that affect health. But circular economy, it's through all economic activities. It's everything we produce, everything we consume. So it's very complicated in nature. And in the Netherlands, what's happening in the Netherlands, we are stuck in the recycling paradigm. We think we do really well, but the only thing that we do really well is that we have a very well-organized collection system and that we basically bring our waste to recycling plants. That's what we do well. What comes out of it is so bad in quality that we cannot use it for high-quality products. Yeah? So we are very proud that we offer it to the recycling plant, but we get out of it, we can hardly use it. So we, for example, plastic, we use it for park benches, road poles, all kind of other low-quality products, but not for the high-quality products that we use. I can almost guarantee you that the chairs that you're sitting on, or maybe Arthur, that you bought circular chairs, but normally these chairs are all made from primary material. Yeah? The other thing is that we leave it to the industry. It's called extended producer responsibility. This is a beautiful term, right? The industry is responsible for the stuff that they do. Well, the way they interpret this term is that they are responsible for creating this infrastructure, but they are not responsible for also using the recycled content that comes out of this infrastructure. So basically, it's okay, now we have done our job, there's all this recycled material, we're not going to use it, we're just going to use primary material, someone else should use it. So basically, there's no incentive to create high-quality recycled material that can be used for high-quality products. And yeah, if you look at the way products are offered to us, you can see that this industry is not coming up with the right strategies that makes it easy for us to also make sure that those high-quality products are developed. And then the most fundamental point, and if you Google this on YouTube, I have a 45-minute talk on this. It's all on this last point, so now I will just do it in 10 seconds, is that the circular economy goes against the driver of capitalism. So the whole capitalism is about more consumption, more production, more economic growth. So if you say, well, we should consume a bit less, we can share products, you don't need to buy everything new, it's going directly against the normal way we think that the economy should develop. And I think, and also when you're successful, you need to have a lot of stuff. You need to have bigger houses, more beautiful cars, etc. So also success is seen in a material way. Yeah, so then a circular economy, even though it has all those benefits, it's so contrary to the way we perceive progress. This was a very good idea, but I see now that I run out of time. So what I will tell you is that the future of circularity is not one single future. You can think about it in many different ways, and the way you organize it, the future will look completely differently. I have all kinds of examples, I can't do this. But what does it mean for science? So I hope that I already convinced you it's not just a technical problem, it's also a social problem. And I think social science is really key in solving this problem. We need a lot of natural sciences, of course, and engineering, but also really a lot of social science. It's about consumer behavior. And the thing is that you can buy used clothing at a website called Vinted, but what do people do? They buy the used clothes, and I think, oh, but then I can buy double or triple because it's reused anyway, right? That's what we call the rebound effect. So we need to better understand the consumers. We need to understand how firms are innovating. We need to understand how we are influenced by those deep-rooted institutions and cultures. And we need to understand the full complexity of this transformation in order to create change. We need design thinking. How can we do things differently? How can a circular society look like? And we need to understand what are good measures and what are bad measures when it comes to the environmental impact. quickly about the relationship between circular economy and health, because I think it's fantastic that those two themes come together. It's a very complex relationship, but I think a positive one. So maybe I misinterpreted the word planetary health in this slide, but anyway, all this extraction of resources and all this emissions by industry also creates a lot of, let's say, an environment that makes you also unhealthy and makes you sick. So a lot of the health issues that we experience today are due to the fact what we eat, what we breathe, and what we drink. So if we organize this whole system much better, much more sustainable, it will directly have a positive health impact. But the problem is out that if you recycle and you circulate compounds, and some of those are also harmful, you also keep them in the system for a longer period of time, and they may also be dispersed, and you never know where they end up. And I think this is a negative thing that we actually need to solve. So it's complex. I think the first one outweighs the second, but we really need to pay attention to this. So this is my conclusion. The awareness for circular economy is 20 years behind climate change, so very good that we put it on the agenda here. It requires a very complex and difficult transformation process, but the need and the potential are extremely high. We really create a better world if we do this. And we need both good science, but also an interface between science and policymakers to speed up this transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Marko Hekkert. Thank you. Take a seat. Yeah. Well, and I was very triggered by your slide already on, well, ways to approach it. But if you're curious about it, and maybe you as well, this Saturday in Tivoli is Kate Rayworth talking about the donut economy. And then you can already get a little bit of a feeling of Tivoli, because that's where the next year's AVU conference will be. So also a nice one. And I will check about the chairs, because we opened this building a year ago, and I can't imagine that Wageningen didn't put attention to that. So you will get that answer after the break. But let's reflect. Now I really hope it's a positive answer. But let's reflect on what has been said just now by Marko Hekkert, and see also how the Alliance is approaching this, and how the Alliance is dealing with these big challenges. The major question that the Alliance, and especially Circular Society, is dealing with is the question: how can smart circular innovations promote urban-rural cohesion and therewith contribute to circular society? And we had a professor, structural design from Eindhoven University of Technology, to enlighten you in ways that the Alliance is working on this. But unfortunately, Theo Salet couldn't join us. But fortunately, we have a replacement here, a professor from Wageningen on environment and water technology, and also in the advisory board of the Circular Society program. A warm welcome to Huub Rijnaarts.
Be patient. Also in the Circular Society, yes. So thank you very much for this introduction. And I also want to compliment my previous speakers, including Marko Hekkert, because I see a lot of connections to this presentation I give you in, say, about 10 minutes. I'm standing here for Circular Society, and the idea is that the Netherlands should arrive at a real circular society in 2050. And like Marko predicted, is that we are going the wrong way. Yeah, we are not achieving the targets in the pace that we should be. And that is why we initiate a Circular Society initiative in the Alliance, to speed up and contribute to a change in the Netherlands, maybe as an example also internationally, to arrive at this Circular Society, circular economy in 2050. In our initiative, we have a focus. Like Marko Hekkert said, this complex is a huge problem. So if we want to change this, the Netherlands as a whole, or a part of the world, to a circular economy situation, that would be really a great challenge. So we said, let's focus. We focus on a snapshot of our societies where we can contribute to create circular economy approaches. And one of that is a circular safe hospital, shown on this slide. My talk will end with a video, a very nice video on that. And the other one is the urban-rural circularity, where my talk will be a bit further going on. In addition to other ambitions we have on education and fundamental knowledge development on circular economy and circular society. For the urban-rural circularity, we have chosen to start with launching projects on 3 domains: water, digital twin, and the agro-transition. Water is, I will go a bit more in detail. The digital twin is really based on the idea that with artificial intelligence, advanced modeling, all the equipment we have today, we can design and plan complex systems. Mimicking these systems and support then these circular transitions that we need to do. And for that we connect to the so-called Eindhoven Metropole. So Eindhoven University is included in our alliance and has really an initiative on that running, and we connect that to our urban-rural circularity hub in our red line. The other one is the agro-transition. So we learn about the nitrogen problem and the healthy diet issue, which is brought to us by Marian Gelijnse. And we have the opportunity that in the Netherlands we are now building together with Utrecht University and Wageningen University, together with partners in Zeeland, the so-called Delta Climate Center. And we have an idea to launch a project there on this agro-transition. So to change the current agricultural production from towards bio-based products that can be reused in the urban environment by bio-based products. And in addition, change the agro-production on food to more crops and products that are more health related. So instead of sugar beets and corn and these type of things, maybe we can change that there. And in Zeeland there's quite a challenge because there is also a very big water issue. I'm going to tell you a bit more in detail about the water project. And that launching project is AquaConnect. I'm myself involved and I'm going to tell you a bit about that. So we know, recently the RIVM brought out a report that we will be short in drinking water in a couple of decades, so in 2030, 2040. In the UN conference in New York, we have a global problem on water supply, and both reports, initiatives claim that this should be solved by changing our water metabolism. We should change from a linear water metabolism to a circular water metabolism. And that doesn't hold only for drinking water, but also for agriculture, for nature, and for industry. So we have a multi-sector approach, a complex system approach. In the Netherlands, we are famous for water, but where are we famous for? To get rid of water, when we have too much, when there is flood risk. So we are trained and we organized our country to get, if there is too much water, to get rid of that water in 2 days and get it into the North Sea. Yeah? And now we need to change that. And that's why we initiated a new project called AquaConnect, which goes to a system approach, how to make in the Netherlands a circular water approach. And luckily, we had 3 universities that are part of the alliance, also in the initiative group. So Eindhoven University, Utrecht and Wageningen, together we're forming the head group of that consortium that was built. And the idea is that all the water in the Netherlands, which is now put on the highway to the North Sea, is not put on the highway to the North Sea anymore, but is brought into a circular approaches so that our water is stored and can be recycled and reused for drinking water, agriculture, industry, and so on. And we do that in combining the disciplinary knowledge of the 3 universities in the lead, but together with the other institutes I've just shown. And we focus on a system approach, as a local system design. So you can think in terms of circularity according to the R model of Marko Hekkert just shown, but that doesn't include the local and regional environment. So you need to include the region to create regional circularity. And for that you need a system design, and that's what we do in the project. We also need social sciences on the bottom, water governance. So Utrecht University and Wageningen University are included in this project on the policy and the law instruments that are needed. It's very easy to say circular, but our current laws are at the moment completely oriented on sustaining the linear approach. If you want to make a circular water system, the current law is making it impossible. You need to do innovation in law and policy. And that's what we do in this project. And last but not least, we also need technologies. Especially the point that where Marko Hekkert ended with, and also Maya Gelijnse pointed out, is that the last bullet is that if you start to cycle materials, water, you get that pollutants can start to propagate into the system. So you need technologies in the end and preventive measures together to prevent that. And that's what we also do in this project. Now, a very quick example. We are not scientists just staying in the ivory tower. We connect to all the stakeholders in a number of regions, including 3 regions that are more in the coastal area of the Netherlands. There we are confronted with water which is also a bit impacted by salt water intrusion, so we have to deal with that. And another area where we work is in the higher sandy soil regions, where we are now also located. That is where our drinking water reservoirs are located, and drought problems are even more persistent in the last years. Now, I want to show you some example of the higher sandy soil regions. So what you see here, a very complex story, but this area is this water reservoir of the Netherlands, and this is why we are so famous for our drinking water and drinking water quality. But this is also the reservoir that is threatened by the droughts we had in the past. Yeah. And what we are now going to change is an example here is one of the 350 wastewater treatment plants here in Ede. We're going to bring that water not to the River Rhine, but we're going to bring it back to the nature and to restore and replenish our groundwater system in a way that we will have water reservoirs that can mitigate the drought. system modeling, digital twins, and the integrative approaches. So we are not technical scientists only and social scientists only working in our academic environment. We work together with 40 stakeholders in this approach as an example. And then I come to my last slide, and the last slide is going back to circular safe hospitals, one of the other areas we work on. And it's a lot of connection to you, Marko Hekkert, and to you, Marjan Gelijnse. So enjoy the video.
The healthcare sector contributes to people's health daily. This care is inevitably accompanied by environmental pollution and, therefore, health damage. The recent Green Deal Sustainable Healthcare shows that the sector is committed to making healthcare more sustainable. Given that context, all Alliance partners work together on the research theme Circular Safe Hospitals, part of one of the priority areas of the Alliance, Circular Society. We do this by doing research that contributes to the transition to a circular hospital.
Medicines are there to be used, not thrown away. The footprint of medicine productions are highly then desired. In times of shortage, less waste is essential. Studies in redispensing oral anti-cancer drugs have shown that in this patient population, patients withdraw from therapy, leaving medications to be thrown away. More than half of this medication could directly be redispensed, resulting in less waste. With this project, we're focusing on finding data, helping us reduce medicinal waste in our hospital.
Lots of medications are used at hospitals, and these can be found in wastewater due to their excretion by patients. At Wageningen University, we did an inventory to determine which are the most problematic compounds based on their usage, but also based on how toxic they are in the environment. And in this study, we found that a number of antibiotics, but also a couple of anesthetics, are very problematic for the environment. So our next step is to determine where are these pharmaceuticals used in the hospital to determine which wastewater is most problematic. So one thing we're doing is collecting wastewater from the intensive care unit and determining which pharmaceuticals in that, and also how to treat those pharmaceuticals. And our goal is really to see how can we avoid having pharmaceuticals in wastewater.
Making hospitals circular is only possible in cooperation with chain partners. To bring this about, a cultural shift is needed, from a take, make, waste mentality to designing and using circular solutions.
At Utrecht University, we identified barriers to transitioning from disposables to reusable medical products and investigated ways to change the system to make this happen. There are many barriers, for example, behavioral barriers. Care professionals are used to work with disposables and they may find reusables less convenient. Or there are also logistical barriers. You need to be able to sterilize reusable products, and you also need companies willing to innovate and collaborate to make the shift from disposables to reusables.
Opportunities for fully circular solutions also lie in smarter product design, reuse of products, prescribing less medicine, and offering healthy and sustainable food to patients. Through this approach, the 4 institutions can make a real contribution to increase the circularity of hospitals.